Decode Podcast. You see the thumbnail, China in trouble. Is it true? Let's see.
Is coming soon after your interview with Peter Morici earlier. I'm not sure everyone shares that confidence, Anita, but we'll see. The president making those comments after meeting with leaders from Italy and Japan. The White House reportedly using tariff negotiations like these to get other nations to isolate China. So is it working? Senior fellow at the Gatestone Institute and author of the new book, Plan Red, China's Project to Destroy America, Gordon Chang is with me now. Always great to talk to you, Gordon. So, how...
Look, guys, I do believe China is in trouble. I do believe they'll find new trading partners. I do believe a deal will be made with the U.S., but they will divest. They will learn. The U.S. will learn, and both won't put their eggs in the basket, if you know what I mean. So many eggs in one basket, they'll diverse. But this guy here is selling a book, so I mean, let's see what he's selling.
How do you see this tariff negotiation going in terms of the benefits to the U.S., if there are any, and the damage to China, if there is any?
Well, happy Easter, Jonathan. What we see with President Trump is negotiating with the rest of the world. You know, Japan, South Korea, Vietnam, European Union, Italy. And I think that he will get better trade agreements with these countries because these countries have all sorts of barriers, most of them non-tariff barriers that keep.
Yes, exactly. Some of the trade barriers that the EU has with the US is foolish. You know, by softening their barriers, allowing more US products in the EU, it's just going to be reciprocated and allow more of their products in the US. Countries that come to their senses on this are going to realize that as long as there's not a limit on the amount of products that can enter the US, one might add that a reciprocal tariff is going to benefit other countries more than the US because we have the biggest consumer, meaning that if we have $20 million and you only have $2 million, you're going to sell more products with us than we're capable of selling with you, right?
U.S. goods out. Once he does that, he has really redirected global trade flows. And the reason is that the U.S. consumer market is about 38, 39% of the global total, the world's largest by far. And everybody needs it, including the Chinese. But they're being intransigent, so they're going to be the last in line for a trade deal if they get one.
Yeah, so, but are they going to change that intransigence? Do you think?
Here's the biggest problem with China. They're not just at odds with us in trade, but the U.S. would be so far better if they just did not trade with China. And then when you look at the fact that they are our head and head shoulder military adversary, who wants to make a good deal with your known adversary and just give him all the fodder and ammunition to build up his military, which is exactly what we've been doing for the past 40 years. But, you know, tides do turn.
The policy, if it succeeds, and it's still a big if, Gordon, of isolating China, getting these other nations to do deals and leaving China on the outside, can it work given their intransigence and the fact that the Chinese always play the long game, Gordon?
Well, the intransigence is the reason why President Trump's plan probably will work. Xi Jinping has configured the Chinese political system so that only the most hostile answers are considered to be acceptable, which means he's really boxed himself in. And I think that if he holds out for too long, the Chinese economy could go over the cliff. We are seeing factories closing. We're seeing unemployment rising. Workers are going back to the farms. This is a very bad story for China. But Xi Jinping, he wants to tough it out because he has put himself in a position where he can't do the economically rational thing.
Gordon, does an angry and
The economically rational thing. What is the economically rational thing? Making a deal with Trump? Mm. See, here's one thing here's an angle that no one's looking at is that I don't know what is 5-10% of all the exports go to the US from China. Somebody, comment below and tell me exactly how many exports from China go to the US. But here's the thing. The total GDP, I think, is like 5% that come from the US. The rest of their GDP comes from all other places, right? So, but I think it's like 30 or 40% of that GDP affects the average manufacturer worker, the average citizen, like 30-40% of the population in China. So what I'm saying is while the mass wealth does not come from the United States, and it feeds into what do they have, 5,000 people who run the Chinese government? It feeds into their family and their version of oligarchs. It does not trickle down into the rest of society whose China has allowed them to make money and get rich off of selling stuff on Alibaba to the United States. We know how the process goes here. So what happens when the government feels like they're doing okay? They're communists, so it's a communist system, so you know it's not a capitalist system. So they could care less about the people. The government has figured out a way to get their money, right? And so if it doesn't affect them in government and power as much as it does the ordinary citizen, and they were just throwing a bone at them to work with the United States, what now for the Chinese people?
intransigent China try to change the story here by making some sort of move against Taiwan?
That's always possible. And in the last 3 weeks,
Now, I'm serious about this move because if China wants to sweep in and take Taiwan's semiconductor chips, which we know that's what this is the big game's all about. Now, they agreed to build a plant here in Texas in the United States. So, what does that mean? Does the maker of the plant have to permanently live in the United States and keep his money here in the United States? Or he might, face the chopping block in China? Like, how's this going to play out? Very interesting.
we have seen very belligerent Chinese military activities against Taiwan, but also against South Korea, Japan, the Philippines, and even Australia. So China could lash out anywhere. Right now, I think Xi Jinping may start to realize that his only way out is to create a military diversion of some sort. And it's not to rally the Chinese people, Jonathan, because they do not want war, but it is to prevent other Communist Party figures from challenging Xi. And that's something that Xi's hero, Mao Zedong, did in the Cultural Revolution that started in 1966.
Yeah, they are dangerous times we are living in indeed. Gordon Chang, so good to see you. Happy Easter to you, my friend. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor.
All right, that's all it. That's it for today. If you like the content on our channel, hit the notification bell and, like always, subscribe so you can get more content feed it to you.